lot of you are going to hate me for making this video, and you wouldn't have that bad of an opinion, honestly, because making this video is pretty painful for me. But quite honestly, after everything that's happened in the past week, and especially after the revelation of what's happened in the last few days, I don't care anymore. I simply don't. By now, all of you know that I've talked about Donald Trump and his disgracing of military veterans and war dead at Arlington National Cemetery this past week, commemorating the disastrous withdrawal of Afghanistan that cost the lives of 12 American servicemen. And honestly, if you're really an American, if you served, or if you have people in your family or your friends who have served, you should be as angry as I was in my previous video when Nick Adams was trying to excuse away and try to explain away Donald Trump's actions. And not to mention how his campaign, Donald Trump's campaign I'm talking about, has been trying to excuse his actions. And quite honestly, if it just got a whole lot worse. Beyond the statements from the campaign about how the person who turned in Donald Trump and his campaign staffers there, beyond all that, the disrespect shown by Gold Star families. Now, I've been watching a lot of the videos that Gold Star families have put out after this incident. The Gold Star families, of course, being families that lost loved ones in the service of country. The Gold Star families in this particular case, the 12 dead service members, their families, Gold Star families, are supporting what Donald Trump did. The flagrant breaking of the law at the Arlington National Cemetery. The flagrant disrespect by doing that thumbs up pose. The flagrant shitting on, matter of fact, I'm just going to say it, shitting on our war dead at Arlington National Cemetery. And honestly, if I were inclined to see these families face to face, honestly, I would look them right in the eye and say, shame on you. Shame on you for disrespecting the sacrifice of your families who died in the service of country. Shame on you for letting Donald Trump disrespect their memories. Shame on you for the total disrespect of the nearly over 400,000 American servicemen and women who lost their lives in service of country, in service of our constitutional republic. Letting Donald Trump turn the graves of our honored dead into political props. And that's exactly what Donald Trump did. Shame on all of you. And these families, and it sickens me to say that. It really does. Because these men and women, they lost their brothers. They lost their sons. They lost their daughters. Their lives have been completely linked by tragedy. By straight up unbelievable tragedy. And Donald Trump lets them use this. And for them to put out videos that Donald Trump has reposted on Twitter and Truth Social, screaming about facts that they don't know anything about, so they can support Donald Trump, is, for me, honestly, and this isn't about me, my hatred for Donald Trump. No, no, no. You know my feelings towards Trump. The man's a scumbag and he's a pig. This goes to the families of those 12 servicemen who disrespected their sacrifice, their deaths for political means to help Donald Trump win the next election. Because that's all it is all about. They could care less of the fact that they lost their brothers, their sons, their fathers. They could care less about the over 400,000 other men and women through the history of this nation that laid down their lives to protect our freedoms, to protect our nation, to protect our constitutional republic. They could care less. As long as it hurts Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and Joe Biden. Donald Trump, matter of fact, a YouTuber said this a couple of days ago. And he meant it as a joke. But honestly, considering the context of who Donald Trump is and who and what his supporters are willing to do, he said that Donald Trump can drop his pants, drop his diaper, and take a shit in Arlington National Cemetery, and his supporters won't even blink twice. Those Gold Star families of those 12 men who died in the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal wouldn't blink twice. Well, I do blink twice. And veterans in this country, true Americans, have blinked twice. In a few moments, I'm going to show you some video comments from a lot of former servicemen in this country who have served this country in peace and in combat. And all of them are sickened by what we saw Donald Trump do. They're sickened by what the Gold Star families allowed Donald Trump to do. I told you you were going to hate me for this video. Did I not warn you? Well, as we say in the ghetto, I want all the smoke. Because quite honestly, Donald Trump is and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to continue to say it if he continues the shit on our veterans and our war dead. Donald Trump is 100% responsible for that withdrawal turning south. But first, before I go back into that, I want you to listen very carefully to a few people, veterans and Gold Star parents, who found what Donald Trump did and what those families allowed completely reprehensible.
My name is Dan Barkoff. I served as a U.S. Navy SEAL with deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan and Africa. I'm here because Donald Trump thinks that Arlington National Cemetery, Section 60, is a place that he can use for campaign events and political activities. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting because that's where heroes are buried. Those people are not suckers and losers, Donald. Those people are champions. They're the best of my generation. And your disrespect of them and to their family is horrifying. You've destroyed everything you've touched in this country. You are a clown and you are going to lose.
Yo, so somebody just asked me what I thought about what the Orange Clown did at Arlington Cemetery. And I can tell you, as a veteran, it was foul, period. It was disgusting, period. It was disrespectful, period. But unfortunately, it ain't gonna matter. Not with his base, period. Because they don't care about fallen soldiers. They don't care about the flag. They don't care about this country. They don't care about back in the blue. You can ask the Capitol Police that. They are devoted to one person only. They only care about one person. They don't care about anything or anybody except him. They have literally abandoned family members for that dude. So it ain't gonna matter to them. If the lying didn't matter, this ain't gonna matter. If the cheating didn't matter, this ain't gonna matter. If the lying about the cheating didn't matter, this ain't gonna matter. If the assault didn't matter, this ain't gonna matter. If stealing from kids with cancer didn't matter, this ain't gonna matter. If getting 1 million people offed, causing 1 million people to lose their lives because of his lies from COVID, didn't matter, this ain't gonna matter. If stealing classified documents, if threatening to be a dictator, if the hate speech, the hate rhetoric, being supported by every single hate group in America didn't matter, this ain't gonna matter. If threatening to overturn free and fair elections didn't matter, this ain't gonna matter. If January 6th did not matter, this ain't gonna matter. If taking away women's rights didn't matter, this ain't gonna matter. If threatening to take away more women's rights didn't matter, this ain't gonna matter. The only thing that's gonna matter is what we do in November. Because we could send a message to him and his supporters that it might not matter to y'all, but it damn sure matter to us.
So none of y'all know this, but my last 2 years, I was the operations sergeant at the Provost Marshal's office on Fort McNair in DC. I was responsible for security at wreath-laying ceremonies at Arlington. There were about one a month, give or take. At least one a month, I would say. A lot of foreign dignitaries would come and show their respects. And the two-star from MDW, Military District of Washington, would attend and join them in that solemn event. One thing I never saw from any of those foreign dignitaries was a thumbs up. A solemn event and a solemn and sacred ground is not the place for a thumbs up. It's not the place for a photo opportunity. So the fact that Donald Trump went there for a photo opportunity is truly disgusting. Donald Trump is truly disgusting. It's just another case of him crapping on veterans. And if you don't see that, well, then you're part of the problem. Donald Trump is such a horrible person, and I just can't stand to look at his face and hear his name, but people need to know what a piece of dirt he is.
Instead of trying to appeal to the moral consciousness of Donald Trump, because I don't believe he has any, I now would rather focus my time and attention on former Marine Corporal J.D. Vance. Where is your integrity, Marine? How could you allow the desecration of Section 60 with Marines that fought in your campaign, the one you were lucky enough not to see real combat, and yet you have the audacity to not only disparage others' military service, but you are also not going to come out and correct this egregious violation on the respect and honor of our fallen? How dare you call yourself a Marine with honor and integrity that scarce? How dare you? And I dare you further to come and look me in the face as a widow and Marine and tell me that what former president, convicted felon, sex offender Donald Trump, why he would have the right to go against Arlington National Cemetery policy for a political stunt with our fallen. Explain that to me, Marine. Either as a sergeant talking to a corporal, or as a widow talking to a candidate for the vice presidency of the country my husband died fighting for, while you were safe and being able to go back to the great state of Ohio, to go to Ohio State University, which, funny enough, was Derek's favorite college. He was a Buckeye through and through and wanted to go to Ohio State to study when he got back. But he didn't. And yet here you are, running to be vice president of a man and that has no integrity and no honor for a country that we fought for. Explain yourself.
So Donald Trump did one of the most despicable things I think he's ever done since I've known of him, and that's saying something. Donald Trump decided to visit Arlington National Cemetery. Now, as an American citizen, he can go. He's more than welcome to. But he went to a grave of one of the 13 service members that were killed on the raid or on the evacuation and leaving of Afghanistan. The reason I say it's one of the most despicable things I've ever seen is because Donald Trump is directly responsible for that service member dying. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you think I was going to say Biden? No. See, Donald Trump screwed that up from moment one. We had a government installed in Afghanistan. We did. But Donald Trump did negotiate with the Afghan government. He negotiated with the Taliban. You remember the people that we had been fighting all this time in that country? What the fuck, did y'all think we were only fighting Al-Qaeda? Who was protecting Al-Qaeda? The Taliban. He negotiated directly with them. Directly. Did not even have the Afghan government at the table. Oh, I'm sorry. And I have to keep reminding you of this. He wanted to meet with the Taliban at Camp David on September 11th.
Hello, my name is David Lucier, and I'm a U.S. Army Special Forces Vietnam combat veteran with civilian service in both Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm also an honored member of the Arizona Veterans Hall of Fame. You know, as a veteran, I am outraged, insulted, offended, once again, by Trump's behavior, particularly at Arlington National Cemetery. This is an outrage. You know, a few weeks ago, I experienced an unprovoked attack by a Trump supporter. My veteran status was clear as day. But when it was all over, he limped away with blood running down his face. Join me. Vote blue all the way through. Let's make sure that Trump, the convicted felon, the draft dodger, the fellow who's been deemed guilty of assault, we cannot let him anywhere near the White House ever again. Thank you.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm going to be quite measured on what I have to say this morning because my insides are just boiling. Most of you know that I took my 7th trip to Washington, D.C. in July to visit the wall. My second stop on that trip is always Arlington National Cemetery, because that is where heroes are laid to rest. I wake up this morning and I find that the giggling gonad, Petey the Pimp, the Duke of Dysentery, was at Arlington to honor the slain in Afghanistan. I can't even tell you how sick that makes me to my stomach. The person who took 5 deferments for bone spurs, standing at the grave of heroes to make a point. He did this because all of a sudden he knew that he stepped on his dick when he was talking about the Medal of Honor being the same as the Presidential Medal of Freedom. We know that was bullshit. But here's something maybe you don't know. That Donald Trump currently, at this moment, is suing the VA in Michigan. Why? Because the VA in Michigan wants to open up polling places to make it easier for veterans to vote. Because of all the gerrymandering and the redlining that has gone on in the state of Michigan, Trump doesn't want that. So he's suing the VA of Michigan. All this bullshit about how much he loves and appreciates soldiers and their service is all bullshit.
Before I move on, I have to thank everyone for their service. Not just the people who made these videos, but everyone who didn't, who feels the same way about what happened in Arlington National Cemetery when Donald Trump disrespected the 13 servicemen who died during the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. And that last video I just showed you, that last Vietnam veteran, said something very, and I don't want to make this into a political video, but here it's the facts. Trump is terrified of losing this election. Suing the VA to make it, because they're making it accessible for veterans, people who actually served this country, to vote. That deserves a video on its own, but I'm going to move on this. Trump does not give a damn about our veterans. He doesn't give a damn about the war dead. He does not give a damn about our country. He has shown that from the very second he walked down that golden escalator over 8 years ago. He has shown that every single time he's pushed about the United States military. From his comments about John McCain not being a war hero because he was a POW. From his comments about losers and suckers, speaking to his former chief of staff who lost a son in service of his country, to his comments of not having wounded veterans around him, singing the national flag, having them around him in campaign events because they look disgusting. To him wondering what's in it for them when it comes to the sacrifice of our military, of our best, of our strongest, of our bravest. All the way to the present time when he said the the Presidential Medal of Freedom is better, the highest civilian honor anyone could ever hold dear, because he awarded it to a woman because her husband donated to his campaign back in the day. That was better than the Medal of Honor, the highest military service award that any soldier, airman, Marine, Coast Guardsman, National Guardsman, airman, Space Guardian, reservist can ever hope to achieve, because in his own words, those who get the Medal of Honor are either dead or they've been shot up. He has never respected our military, even going all the way back to those bone spurs. He dodged the Vietnam draft. Now, I did not believe in the draft. I don't believe in the draft. And I certainly didn't believe in Vietnam because of civil rights reasons. But that's because of civil rights reasons or a conscientious objector. Donald Trump did not believe in civil rights. And he was damn sure not a conscientious objector. He was a coward. A straight up coward. And now he's trying to walk back all of his comments and walk back all of his BS about the military by staging a political stunt in one of the most sacred places in our country. The most sacred place in our nation. I told you were going to hate me for this. You didn't believe me, but now you do, don't you? I told you you were going to hate me for me making this video. But here's the simple fact of all of this. The fact is Donald Trump doesn't care about any of us. He damn sure doesn't care about people like you or me. He doesn't care about the average working man who works 2 jobs to provide for his family. He doesn't care about the woman who may have to work several jobs to afford college so she can go get to a better life. He does not care about America. He has shown that over and over and over again. The only person he cares about is himself. That entire stunt, and I'm going to keep talking about this too, as long as I possibly can. This entire stunt at Arlington National was nothing more than a political prop. Donald Trump, his MAGA, and the families that made videos for political reasons, not because of military reasons, not because of their families, but because of political reasons, should be ashamed of themselves. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be angry or sad that you lost a loved one. No. But you need the facts. You need the full-on facts of why they're dead, of why those 12 people died. And honestly, you don't have the facts, honestly. And that last Vietnam veteran, that video I showed you, was absolutely right. Donald Trump and his administration are 100% responsible for what happened in Afghanistan. I didn't get laid out those reasons in my previous video. But I guess I'm going to have to do it again. Because obviously, you morons in the MAGA are not getting the message. Donald Trump is the one who proposed a withdrawal. And he cut resources and troops to make it 10 times more dangerous for them to withdraw. He didn't even brief the president-elect, Joe Biden at the time, about this. He thought he didn't need a strategy for the withdrawal. So all of it, the blood of those servicemen left behind in Afghanistan is on Donald Trump. Now, you can blame Joe Biden and Kamala Harris all you want, but in the end of the day, in the final analysis, Donald Trump is 110% responsible for it. And no matter how many videos you Gold Star traders want to make, no matter how much time you want to try to campaign for Donald Trump in this particular regard, nothing is going to change that fact. Now, yesterday on Facebook, a Donald Trump supporter tried to challenge me and say, you wouldn't say any of this in front of those families. Yes, I would. In a heartbeat, and maybe I might get my ass kicked, but that's a choice that they're going to have to make. Are you going to really kick my ass over Donald Trump? Where was this fight when Donald Trump decided to show up with a camera crew and desecrate that Arlington Cemetery, desecrate the people who died in service of this constitutional republic, who died for our constitutional rights? Where was that fight? If you really want to kick my ass, bring it. But before you do, understand two things. One, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Because Donald Trump wouldn't take the hits for you. I would. And two, and you may want to really, really, really seriously listen to what I say here. Number two, I won't go down without a fight. So, your first punch better lay me out. Because trust me, I'll get up and I won't stop. But if you want to fight me over Donald Trump, over the memories and beyond the memories of those who died in service of country, over your son or your husband or your father, you want to fight me over Trump, but not for those who died, the ones that Donald Trump himself got killed. Yes, he did. And I've got buckets of evidence showing that he did. If that's the way you want to lose your freedom for him, for for this photo behind me, it's not worth it, man. It really is not worth it. What exactly are you going to be fighting for? You're damn sure you don't give a damn about the war dead, your families. You obviously don't give a damn about them. So what do you want to fight me for? What, because I pissed you off? What, because you think I insulted them? No, I'm not insulting the 13 people who died because of Donald Trump's malfeasance. I'm insulting you for letting Donald Trump disrespect them. As I said earlier, a YouTuber actually made this joke, but it's not a joke. It's reality. Donald Trump can drop his pants and take a shit over on the grave of someone who died in Arlington National Cemetery, and you people would just smile and give the thumbs up. That's disrespectful in my view. But if you have a problem with what I just said, I'm right here. The difference is, I know what I'm fighting for. I know what I'm doing, why I'm doing this all for. I'm doing it because as a son, real talk, and I've said this before, I'm a son of an Army soldier. My father, I'm an Army brat, basically. When I was younger, I was from military base to military base. I lived in, I was born in Hawaii. I lived in North Carolina, Fort Bragg. I lived in Germany during the, just not too long after the Berlin Wall came crashing down. My father was assigned in Saudi Arabia during Operation Desert Storm. Members of my extended family served in the United States military. So I have friends right now currently serving their country in the United States military. So I know service. I understand service. Donald Trump doesn't know service. He thinks that just by just visiting a cemetery, he knows about service. No, he doesn't. No one in his family does, save only his brother. Now, I read the book. His brother wanted to join the military. He wanted to dedicate his life to service to be a pilot. But unfortunately, Donald Trump and his idiotic father, Freddie, tormented him for years till he drank himself to death. In my view, the Trump family, outside of his brother and outside of his niece, Dr. Mary Trump, know nothing about service. All they know is money. All they know is manipulation. And all they know is about selfishness. If Donald Trump gets reelected, everything that the American flag represents and everything Arlington National Cemetery represents will burn. There is only one chance to end the MAGA, to end the Donald Trump, and that is the way of the ballot box. Share this video to everyone you know. Get active in this. Whether it's online, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Knock on doors, make phone calls, send emails. Donald Trump cannot be allowed to be the commander-in-chief of the United States Armed Forces ever again. If he does, it will be the end of this country. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.